Let me bring you back to Bakhtin. I never met him. But he had a profound influence on George Verwer, who started Operation Mobilization.
Yes.
Just before I went to Cambridge, I heard of this, and a missionary, Japanese missionary, challenged me and my best friend, who was very bright, older than me. We met him on the seashore at the beach, and it was a remarkable encounter. I said, that's Bobby Wright. He's a missionary to Japan. Mm-hmm. And my friend said, let's go and talk to him about Japanese philosophy. So we cheeky young men at the age of 17, he must have been 18, 19, went to Bobby. And Bobby invited us home. And he and his wife, we talked till 4 o'clock in the morning. Never forget it. And his wife sat there, said nothing. We discovered later, to our great embarrassment, she had a first-class degree in mathematics and all of this. And he was an amazing missionary, decorated by the Japanese government for his work in prisons, always financed himself, set up a pharmacy, ran it, and that funded his work. So he said, boys, he had a funny squeaky voice, come back tomorrow. So we went another. And we just hadn't a care that the man had to work the next day. On the fourth night, he said, now, boys, you're going to listen to me. You're a bright pair of lads, but there's something missing. And our hearts fell. He said, you're doing nothing for the Lord, and I'm going to change that. Now, he said, next Monday night, you two are going to run a tent mission in the village of so-and-so. We were devastated. And he set it all up. He said, you need to get doing something if you really believe these things. We were petrified. And I said, is there anything else we can do? I was terrified of doing a tent mission. I said, look, I've heard of this organization called Operation Mobilization. What do they do? He was a bit skeptical. But I said, there is a conference in a couple of weeks' time. Well, he said, okay, I'll give you a choice. I'll give this the benefit of the doubt. Either you're running the tent mission or you're an OM. So I was so terrified of the tent mission, I went to OM and was sent to Austria. And it was my first experience. It was very primitive. We took Bibles and books, but I started witnessing. I then went to Cambridge. And because it had been such an experience for me, I sought out one other person who'd done the same thing in another country. And we said, we need a prayer meeting. Because those were the days in which Cambridge, the Christian students, really were into prayer for all kinds of things. There's OM prayer meetings, there are prayer meetings for the Sudan mission, all this kind of thing, you see. So I started the OM prayer meeting, and it grew and it grew and it grew until 40 or 50 people. And then they got involved in my Bible study that I ran. But the whole point was to get on with Bible evangelism and not simply getting into Scripture. In other words, you needed an outlet.
Yes.
And that was hugely important for me, because seeing that God could work in the lives of other students and in particular change their worldview, that was crucial for me, Jim, because brought up in Ireland where folk believe, well, everybody's a Christian there and they fight about it, you know, it's meaningless. It was very important for me to know by experience that my Christianity was not a function of my genetic constitution or my environment and background, that it was real and true. And so I would put beside all this, and I'm sure you would, because you're an evangelist par excellence. It's not only getting into the Scriptures, it's getting those Scriptures out with confidence to the people around you, isn't it?
It is.